Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Pakistan, Imran Khan. Need I say more? A lot more is happening in that country, but to explain that within an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes, or even a whole day is damn difficult. I don't think anybody in that country would be able to do so. General Uncle sir, what would you like to say to what I just said?
Well, at the outset, thanks for calling me over on the show. When you talk of Imran Khan, Pakistan, and the way you put it across, it was naturally hilarious, so it just came out. Okay. It's very difficult to make out what's happening in Pakistan. For the simple reason, I don't think Pakistanis themselves know what's happening in their country.
Yeah, that is.
The cross currents are so many that it defies imagination, right? And I think Pakistan is going through one of its most unstable periods in its history.
Indeed.
So, and this is not going to be a short-term affair. It is going to be a long-term affair, right? And at one stage, as an Indian, it sounds hilarious, and it sounds, well, we all said it, we knew it, and we know all that. But at another level, it needs very serious dissection. So let's do that.
Yes, sir. So before we kind of dig into the questions, in the past week, the narrative has shifted from pro Shabaz Sharif to pro Imran Khan, and now it again looks like pro Shabaz Sharif because the whole long march thing kind of fizzled out. It's a battle of narratives that is being played out, and one sees the entire so-called establishments mints, because there's the judiciary, there's the army, and some other stuff getting swayed literally on a day-by-day basis. And when you look at it from the outside, it seems a little odd for a country to keep swaying from one corner to the other. How do you analyze this particular narrative war which is playing out there, sir?
Like I said, there's a whole lot of instability. Everyone wants to be relevant in the situation, and everyone wants to grab power at the slightest of opportunity, right? And everyone is trying to deny space to the other guys. Okay. And overall, I read an article which said everyone seems to be heading towards elections. Even the government, Shabaz Sharif government, is now quite convinced that it needs elections. But at the same time, if you go into elections now, it'll, not make anything, because inflation, etc., will all stick to this government. And there is Imran Khan has already started, it's an imported government, and he's been sacked and he's become the hero, right? And these people are left adrift. So they are already looking at putting a caretaker system in place and getting out and going for elections. The army, I believe, is divided whether to continue backing Imran Khan or come out with someone else, because Imran Khan was a failed experiment, but that someone else is the old guard. So the army is also divided. Okay, plus their loyalties have been shaken. And the judges and the judiciary doesn't know where to take the cue from. Earlier, at least, the judiciary used to take the cue directly from the miltablishment, as it was called, right, as Mr. Najam Sethi calls it. Right, but miltablishment is also on a shaky wicket. So the judges also on a shaky wicket. They don't have direction. So the parliament, the executive, and the judiciary all are at loggerheads. The fourth leg of Pakistan, the prime leg of Pakistan, the army, is tottering. I won't say tottering, at least politically it is shaken. Okay. So it's a quite a shaky atmosphere.
No, indeed, sir. As a matter of fact, what one realized was just before Imran Khan kind of announced this whole jalsa, he got a call saying it's a trap, and then his jalsa kind of was not what he kind of expected it to be, and that's something that the PTI guys also talk about. Post that, we see this government kind of strengthening up a little bit, trying to just get the horse back into their shape. But I agree with you when you say that they're aware, even after this $30 price hike, one of these days they'll have to go. They have to sign that IMS and they'll have to go. What does that tell you about political stability as a matter of fact there, sir?
See, IMF and $30 price hike in petrol is just the bare minimum. Huh? They have to expand their tax base. The moment they expand their tax base, they are going to, the influential people are going to come into the tax net. After all, they have to start earning revenue, which is being escaped so far. That they don't want to do because that's taxing themselves. Now, if they do it, they have to do it from outside, not from inside. So this strengthening is momentary. Okay, and Imran Khan has bet a tactical retreat. The whole game is still on. Okay, he's very clear that elections are mandatory at the earliest. These people are also clear elections are mandatory, but they want to create some condition where it is favorable to them, otherwise they'll not come back. And with each passing day, Imran Khan doesn't, waste a moment to say that this is an imported government.
Yeah, true.
And they're doing what the West tells them. The IMF is now conflicted with the West. He's also come out and said, look, they want Pakistan to shake hands with Israel and do whatever Israel tells. He's coming out every day with something new. And that is emotive. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. How is Imran Khan's pitch going to work at the grassroots levels, and how are those people going to respond for votes is more important to everyone.
Absolutely. One should not make the mistake of falling for the social media narrative, because that may actually, that is not the entire reality of the situation on the ground. So well put. Thank you so much. So how do you, gauge this whole chaos? Somewhere down the line, the army is also wondering, what do we do? And we know the connection behind the chaos, the call for elections, and the army. How do you think the army is kind of taking in this entire nonsense, if I may put it that way?
Look, like I said, the army is on the horns of a dilemma. It started a hybrid program. It propped up Imran Khan and it had to pull the rug under his feet.
Yeah.
That's known. That's known to everyone now. Now, in doing so, there is a section which says what we did was wrong. They also realize that Imran Khan is becoming more popular by the day at grassroots level. And if they are not on the same wicket as Imran Khan at some stage, their own position is at risk. If Imran Khan becomes too popular, then the army, he cannot be sidelined by the army.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and he cannot, and if that wicket is not too good, he will sideline the army, which means a danger to their entire system which they've built. So they are worried. And on the other hand, supporting this government, okay, and ensuring it finishes its term or comes to some gets in some economic stability is of prime interest. Otherwise, Pakistan will go to dogs. It will become another Sri Lanka in a very short time. But whom are they going to support? The same Shabaz clan or the Sharif clan and the Bhutto Zardari clan, whom they threw out through Imran Khan. You're going back to the same old landlords, that system. So where does it leave the Pakistan army? Then their own business empires, their own fortunes are at stake. The first thing Pakistan army will do, mark my words, it will consolidate its base and ensure that it will not lose. It does, irrespective of who wins in Pakistan. It will start making, amends with everyone. Whether it will rig the elections and get a government in power is to be seen. It could. If Imran Khan becomes too strong, it could rig the elections completely against Imran Khan and get the present dispensation back to power. But does it have the capability and the courage to do so? Especially with one corps commander singing his own song. I mean, look, there are at least one video I've seen of that General Faiz and what he is doing in his corps, his interaction with the public, etc., etc., etc. Now, this is something which I've never seen in Pakistan, where a corps commander comes out with his own video. It's on YouTube. I don't have to,
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, there is a problem. There is a problem of, right? So that is also shaky. So how will this quadrilateral resolve? Is anybody's game. It's anybody's mugshot.
Keeping all doors open, sir. That's, I think.
Everybody. See, the problem with keeping all doors open is, oh, hawa aayega, hawa bahar jayega. Khatam. Nothing will remain in the room.
Indeed, that is. Pakistan doesn't have one problem, sir. The problem is that they have multiple problems. They've got the economy, they've got the security, they've got India, as they put it. Let me just lighten up a little bit. But they've got Kashmir, which is like a sore thorn, sticking in their eye all the time. And the list is never ending. One of the problems is the TTP. And, although the Pakistani media kind of at the moment refuses to discuss about this, there's literally very little which is being said about this so-called deal which is taking place with the TTP, sir. Looks like they're giving up their arms in that region. How would you look at it, sir?
Well, unless something happens, I will not believe it. It's not the deal. The deal is irrelevant. The acid test is peace.
Yeah.
Acid test is peace. If Pakistan gets that peace by selling its constitutional or diluting its constitution away for any particular area within Pakistan, then it has diluted its own sovereignty. A deal with TTP, as it is appearing in the media, implies that the sovereignty of Pakistan in TTP controlled areas is diluted. That has major ramifications. Narcotics, drugs, narcotics, terror. Okay. So, whole lot of things. It's not so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, if that happens, and if TTP is given a share in Pakistan, independent kind of autonomous status, why will others not put up their flag? Baluch rebels, Sindhu Desh,
everyone, sir.
PTM, POK, someone will start. So there is a danger. Till what level will the Pakistani army and the state, as it exists today, dilute this in a deal? If there is no deal, it is back to violence. See, the problem with Pakistan is it doesn't have many bargaining chips with TTP.
Yeah.
Okay. The day it put Taliban in power in Afghanistan, and we've discussed this earlier also in General Stock and all other discussions, that Taliban will strike back one day. If not Taliban, TTP, which is its younger brother, will strike back one day. It has struck. It has created that, instability along the Durand line. This will ensue. So that it's the chicken which is coming home to roost. Everyone talks of strategic space. Pakistan, if the deal goes through as it is coming in papers, they would have lost strategic space.
Afghanistan is gaining strategic space.
Yeah, in Pakistan. Okay. So there are major implications of this entire thing. Let us see how it goes through, because one doesn't know.
Absolutely, sir. And the pessimism that you're talking about is not just reserved to India. As a matter of fact, there's a report which has come out from the US, the UN, which talks about bleak chances of this so-called deal kind of going forward and maintaining. And we've seen these deals before, so I don't know how long, as you said.
You think Imran Khan will allow this deal to go through? He's after all known as Taliban Khan. It is not a one-to-one deal between the government and Taliban.
A lot of people.
So there are many ifs and buts about this deal.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether all this will go through. The ramifications are pretty huge.
True, sir. True. I mean, it's not just a ramification in terms of loss of life, as you mentioned. It's ramifications in terms of loss of sovereignty and the damage to the constitution itself, which is, I mean, quite a bad thing. So let's talk about the economy for a little bit. They talk about IMF, ADB, Saudi, China, this, that, ye, wo, and all that stuff. Whatever said and done, the economy is not a short-term plan. It's not like aaj ho gaya, kal ye, it's tankha aa gayi, we'll buy the car and that's it. It's not like that. I mean, it's a long-term plan for a country, and especially a country like Pakistan with the kind of issues it has. Do you foresee anybody looking at it in a long-term perspective? They've just banned some of these imported items and stuff like that. Will just increase the amount of smuggling. But I don't know. Are they looking at a long-term sort of a game?
See, at this point of time, it's a matter of survival. IMF has put a dhanda. Okay, unless you do this, you don't get money. They're doing it. The repercussions of whatever they're doing will be felt down the line. And that will be an election issue. Okay, that is one part of the story. You look at it a little ahead of that. It doesn't matter who comes back. Whether it's Imran Khan or the present dispensation or any other combination comes back into power. Okay, they're going to be faced with inflation. All this is going to trigger inflation anyway. It was well known. There's going to be a rise in all prices. Fuel's gone up, all prices will go up. Taxes will go up, all prices will go up. Okay, so it's going to be inflation. Will they be able to control the inflation? So far, no. Will it go the Sri Lanka way? Highly possible. Okay, you think China will bail them out? China has in its own problems. China didn't lift a finger to help Sri Lanka out. How much can it help Pakistan? And take into account that all that Karachi incident and XYZ and all that, and the fact that CPEC is about to close down all the power plants because of unpaid dues.
Yeah.
So how much will China? Yeah, and there's also another issue. The moment China steps in with the money, IMF will have problems. IMF will see. IMF at every stage they said, please be transparent about your dealing with China. They will not want to know what China is up to, because their money is in the kitty. They have to retrieve it from Pakistan.
True.
Okay, so it's not a simple thing. The Saudis have anyway said, they've said, okay, we'll give, but they've given nothing. It's possible that Chinese are also saying, we'll give a thing, and nothing will come out. So it's all in the air.
For China, I mean, another game is because they're more looking towards the Pacific right now rather than, getting into this entire game. So it's going to be very difficult for the Pakistanis to even expect, because the relations, as of now, everybody thought Shabaz Sharif has come, sab theek ho jayega, but it didn't really span out. I mean, he couldn't even go there.
No, yeah, that is one way of looking at it. But the fact is that China will like to have Pakistan on its side.
Of course.
Okay, on a long-term basis. The issue which you brought out is more relevant. Will China be able to extend this side given the problems it has? given its own internal problems. Okay, China has got its own problems. They are saying that from tomorrow onwards, the Shanghai lockdown goes off, and then Beijing has to follow.
Yeah.
Then the economy has to recover, and then they have these problems which are coming up. Right, so its economy is in a bad shape. That's all known. So there's nothing new. How much can China stretch out to Pakistan? That's a question.
Big question, sir.
Yeah, it is.
So what about this whole Israel fracas? I mean, that was interesting. Suddenly in the middle of all this tamasha, you have this one pop-up. It says somebody's gone to meet the Israeli president. And now they're trying to justify it's a Pakistani American, this, that, yeah, whoa. But of course, it's not done without a plan. What do you foresee?
Let's see how it pans out.
Sir.
Let's see how it pans out. Look, Pakistan knows if there's one country which can strike at Pakistan, it is Israel. It is not bound by anything. Okay. Yeah. So it's better to make peace. It's difficult for USA to strike at Pakistan. It's difficult for India to strike at Pakistan, but not for Israel. So and plus there will be a lot of pressure from the Gulf to mend their ways. Now that Turkey is not playing up, Turkey is not, really, I mean, it will play ball with Pakistan, but Turkey can't help Pakistan.
Yeah.
So where does money come in from? And there's a lot of pressure from USA also. So it's under pressure, but there are internal issues, there are external issues. So let's see where it goes.
I mean, it's funny that in every answer you bring about money, money, money. And that's something that's bottom line for this.
Bottom line for Pakistan today is an empty kitty.
Absolutely, absolutely. How far will Turkey, and that's a big question, sir, considering the factor that Turkey is fighting its own battles in the EU, trying to make amends with Israel as well. So there's little scope for Turkey to kind of...
Yeah, I agree with you.
This thing. So Bilawal Bhutto's visit to America was kind of picturized as the Great Reset. Everybody said now things are going to smoothen out, and the hostility that at least that both the countries have apparently has kind of drizzled off a little bit. But this PM hasn't got a call either, and that's, I mean, it's not a funny thing to say, but there is obviously a congratulatory note that goes from every country with diplomatic relations for new prime minister being anointed. Even that didn't happen.
Look, it's too much to expect that America will be over the moon because Shabaz Sharif has been sworn in.
Yeah,
that
was the picture put across. Yes, sir.
Okay, Bilawal going to USA and making a few statements here and there has to be spun out in Pakistani media as the Great Reset. But what has any Western commentator said about it? Nothing. Zero. Has there any other action which has come after that? Zero. Okay. They'll indulge in USA will indulge with Bhutto because he's the future. Just about 30 odd years. There's a lot of things. They'll invest in him from that point of view. Okay, and nothing more.
Personal brand building. I think
that's about all.
That's an interesting game that he's playing. And yeah, why not? I mean, if he's got
then everyone is prepared.
Yeah,
why not?
Why not? Why not? At least he knows how to do stuff. You can make a mistake when you're 30, but you can't make a mistake when you're 45
or 60.
Absolutely, sir. So let's talk about India. We thought that this Shabaz Sharif was smart enough not to kind of, draw the same rhetoric as Imran Khan was following. There were talks about some trade, this, that. Not that India is kind of waiting with the bated breath for all this stuff to start. But just as an analytical point of view, we heard his first address speaking about Yasin Malik, speaking about, 5th August 2019. And that was really funny that, with all that is happening, instead of actually putting a little gas on a bit of a low, he backed into the same thing. Is it that they're selling it to their own people, or is just something that needs to be said,
Look, he's a realist. What is a realistic situation? Given the political weight he has, he cannot make headway with India at all. He cannot make headway with India, not because he wants to or not because he doesn't have the political strength to do so. Okay. So that's the first thing. He cannot undertake any major commitment with India. If he cannot make any major commitment with India, and if he doesn't not make noise against Kashmir, his political future is finished. So he has to talk about Kashmir. He has to do whatever he has to do. There's no doubt about it. So, I mean, nothing very great. He has to show that he's anti-India and pro-Kashmir. That's it.
Interesting, sir.
It's pure electoral politics.
Yeah, seems so, sir. Seems so, absolutely. Sir, closing comments on your thoughts about the Army Chief's election, if I may, because what do you think is actually going to happen in that particular aspect? Because that kind of, I think, decides the entire game.
Look, I've been telling this from a long time.
Sir.
I think I've made this in a few shows before. That will be an interesting affair. Because who's going to appoint the army chief? Is it a proper government? Is it an interim government? Or is it an army appointed government? Or is it within the army? Or is it with the army and the judiciary combined? How will they resolve it? We don't know. And what will be the effect? Will they get over it by giving a part extension to Bajwa? You might say because of this current situation, he is given 6 months extension till the new government comes in.
Ouch.
Then get a new government in place and then, get a new chief. Look, the game is open.
Yeah.
The game is open. And Pakistan army is in a self-preservation mode. Whatever happens, they will not like to see their role diluted.
Oh, absolutely.
And that there is a danger in their role getting diluted heavily if Imran Khan comes in. It doesn't matter who the chief is. They have to close ranks to protect their petrol pumps and bakeries and land.
Bakeries.
Yeah, they have bakeries.
Really, sir?
Yeah.
I thought they were washing powder and all that stuff.
No, that is वो भी ठीक है. धोबी भी हो सकते हैं ऐसे क्या?
No, I always thought they had this concept of big industry, the
No, they have bakeries also.
That's interesting. I honestly learned something really, really big today about the Pakistani army. No, sir, what you say is absolutely correct. I think the army chief selection, and you've actually mentioned this, we've spoken about this in general stock, and pretty much I think all the conversations we've had about Pakistan, that one time is going to be the most interesting. I think we're in May, June cusp right now. Let's kind of build it up till October, November, and we'll see, because that's going to be a deciding moment. Will the army actually accept the decisions? Will there be chaos within the army? God knows. It's anybody's game. Thanks, sir. As always, insightful comments about Pakistan. It's not getting that simple to analyze Pakistan anymore, right, sir? I mean, things were pretty simple before. It's getting a little, complicated. It's not, you got to really be on the ball to keep the stuff going. Anyway, sir, till next time, I think we will discuss the next time me and Jan Shankar sit, we will talk about China, and, which is, I think, the favorite topic of both of us, for us to look at what's happening within the region. Till then, sir, Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Jai Hind.